All right, let's talk about registration and taxes. And this is an important area to understand because depending on how you register the yacht and how you use it and where you keep it will determine whether you are going to owe some taxes. Now, anybody can be totally tax-free if you do certain things. One way to remain totally tax-free is to register in a foreign country, one of the flags of convenience, such as the BVI, Gibraltar, Bahamas, those sort of places. And when you come to the U.S., you'll be tax-free. You're not going to owe any sales or use tax. You won't owe any customs duty if it's a foreign bill hull. But the restrictions are that you can only stay in the U.S. for a year at a time. But it's easily solved by just going to a foreign country and clearing over there and then come right on back and get another cruising permit for a year. And here in Fort Lauderdale, we are 47 miles from Bimini, which is that away. And so it's pretty easy to go clear in and out and get a new cruising permit. Now, foreign flagging costs more than registering here in the U.S. So you have to really look at all the costs and to determine if it's really worth doing and putting up with the restrictions on navigation, meaning, you got to leave every year. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that if you buy a yacht in the Caribbean, which is one of the best places to buy because prices are generally lower there because there are fewer buyers chasing many more boats, you are totally tax-free there. There's no taxes at all. And if you stay in that area, well, tax-free. Now, you can trigger taxes if you bring the yacht back to some U.S. states. And they call that use tax. It's called sales tax if you buy a yacht in a U.S. state. So now in Florida, if you come here more than 90 days in a 12-month period, then you need to check in with the state of Florida. You usually do that at a tag agency, like where you get a plate for your car, and they will ask you some questions, and you may owe some use tax, and it has to do with the county that you're associated with in Florida. So all the counties are a little different. It's between 6 and 7.5%, but there are legal ways to get around that, and I can explain some of those exemption strategies if you become one of my clients. Now, in the U.S., there are a couple of ways to register the yacht. And one of them is state of Delaware registration. And so that would be, for example, if you see like these boats here with the numbers on the bow, like this dinghy here, you see that has FL numbers. Well, that's a state registered vessel, actually. And so these state registered boats have to put the numbers on the bow. And there are 200,000 yachts and boats registered in Delaware because it's generally cheap, quick, easy, and hassle-free. Now, there are some drawbacks to state of Delaware registration, which are that some jurisdictions, namely Martinique and Guadeloupe, sometimes they don't recognize state of Delaware. I've heard that some days they're fine with it and other days they're not. So I guess it just depends on the mood of the customs officer when you clear in. But so if you are going to be traveling worldwide, you probably want to think about getting documentation, okay? And there's a lot of people that misunderstand the difference between state of Delaware registration and documentation. So documentation is really just a federal registration, is all it is. It's administered by the U.S. Coast Guard. It usually costs $600. You need if you're going to have a Delaware corporation or LLC hold title, which I think is a good thing to do for certain reasons, well, that costs usually $200 to $300 to form that company there. The reason why you don't want to hold title in your own name is that if there's like an accidental death on your yacht, or you're involved in a big collision and it's your fault, well, somebody may come and try and sue you. And if you hold title in your name, well, they could come after you personally if your insurance policy doesn't cover the amount of the damage award. So you want to be careful, and I always recommend just have a company hold title, because then the liability can be limited and you're not going to have a personal problem. Okay, now when you get a loan for a boat, they're going to want you to document it, because it helps them perfect their ship's mortgage. That is, it's easier for them to put a lien on it and repossess it if you forget to pay them. In the U.S., there's another tax, the U.S. Customs duty, that really only applies to foreign-built hulls. So, for example, here's a Leopard 44, whoops, and that's a foreign-built hull. And on foreign-built hulls, there's a 1.5% customs duty when you formally import the vessel, and then the customs broker fees to do all the paperwork is another 0.5%. So it works out to about 2% for the duty. But again, foreign flagging shields you from that. Okay, so remember the difference in documentation, which is a federal registration, and state of Delaware. It's either a state registration or a federal registration. All right. Now, if you engage me as your buyer's agent, I will always keep you posted at every stage of the game as to what tax consequences there are, and when we identify the boat for you, we can then discuss again how you're going to use the boat, how we can avoid taxes, and most of these big mega yachts here in town, they're foreign flagged, and they do that for tax reasons and also for privacy reasons. So a lot of high profile people like politicians may not want you to know that they own that 180-foot motor yacht over there, so they'll get a company in a foreign jurisdiction and have nominee directors, and it's very private. It's very difficult to find out who really owns the yacht, but it usually leaks out. And but for liability purposes, it helps as well to have the yacht owned by a foreign corporation. Okay. Now there are other foreign flags that we can get. Actually, Gibraltar is a real cost-effective place. St Vincent is a very cost-effective place, and there's a myriad of other places. Most people in America choose to get documented, or they'll get a state registration. There's a lot of Europeans who get Delaware state registration, and in the Eastern Mediterranean there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of yachts from Delaware, but these people have never been to Delaware. They probably have no idea where it is, but they're doing it for tax reasons over there, because they get out of paying VAT, which can be pretty stiff, between 16 and 23%. Well, check out this, here's a Leopard 51 Power Cat. It's here. We're in Bahia Mar today. And further on down here is a Leopard 53 Power Cat. This is a 2021. Let's see if I can aim this thing right. Yeah. And then beyond that is a Fountain Peugeot 44 motor yacht. And this one here, this Leopard, has never been registered. This is brand new. And it looks like this one is a documented vessel. You can tell because you have to put the name and the hailing port on the back, and then their dinghy is state registered. This is an AB dinghy. You know, the charter managers tell me that these ABs are one of the best. They last the longest, so they like them a lot. All right, well, if you have any more questions, just contact me through my website, largecatamansforsale.com. I'd be happy to answer your questions about taxes and registration. And a few people asked me about the anchor that I have on my face. And this is something that Dutch sailors wore in the 1600s. If you sailed halfway around the world to one of their possessions in the Far East, a lot of the sailors would sport these, and so that you would know that, you know, they're serious and they've been halfway around the world. So this is kind of a badge of honor with them. I haven't sailed halfway around the world. I do have 33,000 miles, but it's all been concentrated in certain areas. Anyhow, that's it for today, and give me a call, send me an email, or text me. I'll talk to you later.